What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kyle. We're at the Modest House, and in the previous episode we installed all the LP Smartside board that goes on prior to all the finishes. Now we're at a point where we can't do a whole lot more until we put our trims on, which will allow us to end this process with our battens. That'll cover up these gaps. So the start of this video is going to be installing our trims. Now we're going to start with our window trims. Two things. One, notice that our board went on before the windows, so that is a little bit, atypical, but also we have these gaps around the lower sections of the window because of the Versetta stone. This will all be addressed, but first what we need to do is actually pre-assemble our window casing. So I'm a big fan of pre-assembly because when you're trying to put up a piece and put another piece, get everything to line up, and then come over here and things are moving around, that's very difficult. I promise you, pre-assembly is the way to go. So I'll show you what we do. First thing I need to have is all of the dimensions. So luckily I have 4 windows, all the same. All I need right now is my width, which is 35.5. And then I need to measure from the top of this 3/8 bend up, which we already put in, which is 60 inches. So I know exactly how to pre-assemble this window casing. So let's go get all the lumber cut up. I'll get all the measurements for all these. I'll show you how we pre-assemble them. And then when we install them, you're gonna see just why this is the best process to follow when trimming your exterior windows. There's a lot of clearances that you must remember when doing Smartside. Specifically, you need to stay 3/8 off of your metal trims. You need to stay 6 inches off of finished grade if you have dirt or rock around your perimeter. 1 inch if you have a roof. If we metal flash down here at the concrete, we can be 3/8. But all that to say that you have to follow those rules for warranty purposes. But there's certain instances where we don't follow those rules, and that's not good for warranty. But the good thing, and I'll tell you why we don't follow those rules, is that LP's warranty is not a system warranty, which means if you don't follow the spec on one piece of trim, your whole job is trash. That just means that one piece of trim that you didn't follow the rules on, they won't warranty it if there's an issue. And what I do is specifically in this situation where you're gonna have a door coming down, garage doors are another really big one, but this is probably gonna end up being closer than the allowable tolerances for the warranty. What that means is if in 15 years instead of 50 there is any failure down here at the bottom, I'm not too worried because we're under a porch. This piece of trim would have to be replaced. Now I don't know about you, but if I'm gonna have a piece of trim up, I would rather it just go all the way down and look good than have the gap that is required in this exact instance. Now, I could probably get away with the door, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because the video just started and you'll see more as we go. But just know, if you fail to follow those guidelines, LP doesn't just say no warranty on the job. They say no warranty on the single piece that you miss or improperly installed. So I just want to say that. So when I measure my door, I'm going to actually set it down to this flashing. And that's the measurement I'm gonna go off of. So now that I have all the dimensions for all of our different windows, what I have to do is add the appropriate spacing. So around a window with your Smartside, you gotta have 3/16 around the 3 sides being the 2 sides and the bottom. And then on the top, you've got that 3/8 gap because you're over top of metal flashing. And we actually accounted for that when we put our flashings on by bending up a 3/8 tab. So I take my dimensions and I need to add all that additional spacing. But also, let me show you one of the things that people do ask me about is miters with Smartside. They've kind of gone back and forth in my knowing of Smartside on what they allow for mitering. You can take a trim board and put a 45 on it, but you don't want to bevel cut LP because of the growth, expansion, contraction. However, I don't recommend doing any miters. We do all straight cuts. So what we've got is a window casing. And if you look at the way the trim is done, what we have is a top trim that extends all the way out to the sides. Our side casings die into that window trim and expand all the way to the bottom. And then we have the bottom casing goes from side to side. So what I have to do is figure out 3/16 gap on the sides, the bottom, 3/8 on the top, and I'm gonna pre-cut all these pieces, build them, so my dimensions have to be accurate because once I build them, they're gonna be glued and screwed. We'll just go ahead and install them and they gotta fit. So it takes a couple seconds to do the math, but I think it's important when you're doing pre-assembly because you never wanna do all this work and go realize that you messed up. So the whole measure twice, cut once is very important. All right, so what we're going to do, we've got all of our sides, tops, and bottoms cut for the first window set, which we have 5 common size windows, and that is depicted here. You'll see the way we're gonna install this. Just not a fan of miters, and you can miter if you want, guys, but I don't recommend it. I think this looks good, it's strong, and nobody's even gonna see the miterless corner anyway, I can promise, unless you look for it. This joint, we are going to do a biscuit. So probably overkill, but this is a biscuit if you don't know what it is. And when you put this in here, what it's doing is basically giving you more gluing surface. So glue is what's going to really create the strong bond between the 2 pieces of trim coming together. And then in order to hold this, because we don't have clamps out in the field, we're doing a lot of these, we're going to pocket hole screw these with the Kreg jig. So that will clamp them together so that the glue can dry. And what this process does is it will give us the best possible scenario to get a perfect flush finish. If you do this outside, in fact, I probably could have started with that and showed you why, but when you're holding these pieces up on a window and you're trying to get them aligned perfectly, not only is that difficult, but also it's almost impossible to get the faces of the material perfect. This process will allow us to do that, so I highly recommend, if doing this sort of thing and you care about quality, follow this procedure and pre-assemble. And I'm not the only one, a lot of people are now doing this, which is awesome to see. All right, we're at 1 inch board thickness. This guy is at 1 inch, so we should be good. Just a quick test. It's a little bit. Basically, wherever this is running into a board, so the long side is dying into a short side like this, this is where we're gonna do our connection. Our Kreg jig screws are gonna come in this way. So basically we'll have Kreg jig here, 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 and here, here. This top board is just gonna get a biscuit, and that is so that we can draw in typically, then maybe this is not really, did you know this, Greg, grain wise? Like, I mean, this is not a grained material per se, it's just OSB. It's not standard OSB, but anyway.
What does that mean?
What's that?
Does that have anything to do with it, or is it?
So with grained wood, like if you're doing like, you're gonna trim your windows, I wouldn't wanna run your screws into the grain long ways parallel to the grain. So you would want to come from the long side and draw into a cross grain.
Gotcha.
So it's just good practice, like in this instance, to Kreg jig and screw into the short side of the material. And I don't know how LP, I've never been to their factory tour, but I don't see a grain. Like they literally,
When they talk about like
how engineered and over
differently.
Yeah, it probably doesn't matter. It's just something I've always done, so whatever. There we go, a little loose. So this is a little bit of a time-consuming process. Obviously, we've got to do all this versus just cutting these boards and throwing them up. But it's not only better quality, I think when we go to do the install, you'll see how quick and easy it is to do the actual trim install. It's actually kind of mind-blowing how fast you can put them up and it looks good.
And how perfect they are.
Yeah. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Efficiency. Okay. Big windows are where the pre-assembly really shines. I mean, look at this. This is just the bottom of the window. It's for that massive window over there. And when you're holding up big trims, trying to get them to line up, definitely really advantageous. Now, the one thing I will say about LP Smartside, it's a pre-engineered product, which means that during the process, and I haven't been to a mill tour yet, but a bunch of chips, and I'm talking like 12 inches or something like that, worth of chips and glue and resins get completely pressed down into what you see here. And I don't know the exact height, but I think it's literally like a big old stack of chips that gets pressed into the 5/4 board here. There's a tolerance to that. And what that means is that if the exact dimension is 5/4, they allow a 16th or whatever each way in the material. And I don't know the exact spec. I don't know, it's probably some decimal point because they probably don't use a metric, or the imperial is probably a metric measurement of some port because that's more accurate. Anyway, because of that, when you're putting 2 pieces of Smartside, this isn't that big of a deal, okay? But you can see the difference in dimension. Like, it's just ever so slightly different. When you're putting trim up on a window and laying it on the siding and getting it to lay flat, first you have like nail heads that are potentially sticking out slightly. You have the nail fin of the window that makes the siding kind of bow out right at the window. It's really hard to get the face to line up. And that's probably the #1 reason that we like doing this, is it really does a perfect job. I don't know where these went. I think here. But I think you'll see, and I keep saying it, you'll see. You'll see.
You'll see.
It is exceptionally better to pre-assemble, especially with Smartside, because of the fact it's man-made and they don't mill it after the fact like a regular 1x that is like exactly the same dimension, or it should be. You do have tolerances and thicknesses that change ever so slightly, and through this process, our faces end up being exactly flush, and any error or thickness differential happens on the backside. Okay, so if that's gonna be there, that's gonna be there, that's gonna be there. Give me a mark at 59-ish. Good. Boom.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, you like that? Oh boy, you're gonna have some glue on this one, my friend.
Come on, dog.
Oh yeah. Now, if this was a flat trim, we'd be screwed. We'd have to sand it down. So.
This one, you got really carried away on this one.
Was it Cole or Chloe yesterday when I called out I needed a 6-foot board and they were like, I'm just looking for a piece that's the size of my dad? Was that Cole or Chloe?
I don't know.
Did you hear that?
I did not.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty funny.
I can't, because the joke in the family is that I'm not 6 foot.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
I'll measure you right now.
Nah, we don't need to. I'm feeling a little short because of all the weight I've been carrying around on my back the last couple of months, you know? Now I'll take
your left a little bit.
I'll take off, you know, just a hair maybe.
Okay.
So make sure you're not cheating me, you know?
Center that knot.
Okay. We'll take off agreeable, what do you think? 1/2 inch maybe?
I don't know what those.
I mean, these are pretty worn down here, you know? Shit, that's 72.
That's 6 foot exact. Hold me.
Now your boots are a little bit.
Don't push down on my head.
Well, you're just standing up. I didn't stand up hard. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not standing up hard. I'm standing up normal.
Go ahead.
Wow, I'm only 1/2 inch shorter than you?
In your boots. All right, we're gonna let this sit 24 hours. Tomorrow we'll start installing window trims. We need a couple more biscuits too. I ran out of biscuits. We'll finish these other ones up. And then we can start installing all of our battens and belly band trims. So yeah, pre-assembled trims. What do you think? I take this over and we just slap it around the window. It's gonna be the exact size, give me the exact spacing. All these faces are exactly flush. So it does take a little bit of time to do the prep work, But actually, I don't think it's a whole lot more time
Probably quicker than
when you look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can kind of mass cut all your trims, assemble them, and now we'll just wait. We'll let those set up and we'll install them tomorrow. We don't have this side of board on, which in the last video I said we were done with all the board. We're done with everything that we can do without things like concrete finish that we can then finish the doors and then the board around it. So yeah, so we don't have our board here to put this corner on and space it appropriately. However, because the board is 3/8, and if you divide 3/8 by 2, it's 3/16, and 3/16 is what you're supposed to gap your trims. If we go ahead and use this as a guide right now, by the time we put our board on, it'll bump it out 3/8, giving us a 3/16 gap here and up there at our trim that we need to marry it to. So Greg, go ahead and make a little mark. Yep, all right, perfect. But this is gonna allow us to at least put our top trim on and then work on our battens.
And our belly band.
And our belly band, which is actually more important than the battens at this point. All right, guys, so what we're moving into now is our trims. Greg and I actually threw up a couple trims while we were wrapping up a day just to keep moving, and trust me, we got plenty to go. So corner trims, pre-made, ExpertFinish trims by LP are nice because that's a one piece, just slap it up. And then you'll see the top trim up there at the soffit. Those have to go on first. Then we can move into putting our batten trims, as well as our window trims have to go in before we do the batten trims around that. So what we're gonna focus on is getting this section done. You are going to see unfinished areas for the siding, specifically by the garage doors and the back porch, because we're waiting on some things to finish before we can do that. I hate kind of going back and forth, but that's the way of the construction job site. So the other unique thing is this gable, and in fact all the gables, are gonna get a accent detail, which is just gonna be standard horizontal lap siding. So we have that as well to deal with, and that's what Greg and I are gonna start with, is getting our belly band trim board up here. That will define the gable, as well as give us a piece of trim to install our battens to. So let's go ahead and get up here and get that started. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Lots of unfinished areas for one reason or another, and we gotta kind of get creative to make sure that we can keep working. So what we need to do is determine where our outside corner is eventually going to be. You can pull it. That way we can keep working, and when we get this section done, which will all be done after the porch is framed and installed, which is gonna be actually probably next week, we'll just put our corner trim on and everything should line up right where we need it. So it's not that bad, it's just kind of annoying sometimes having to do this sort of thing. So Greg, I'm looking at 71 1/4 tight, so we'll go 71, and that'll be the top trim, 71, and then we can get this line snapped and run our belly band. Oh, the wind died.
The problem is like curl.
Nice.
To the soffit.
Yeah, what are you about?
170 or 147 and 9/16.
Okay, I like that. Nice. Oh, dang.
That is
crispy crisp. All right. So that line is just to figure out where our belly band's gonna go. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but we're just using our soffit kind of as a line, reference line. And then the other thing is I didn't want the gable siding to die directly into a corner. I just wanted a little bit of return. So our board will go right here, it'll get flashed, and then our first piece can get cut in there. I don't know. Seems like the right thing to do. That's like exactly what I want. It's not, you don't want it flush, you want that back just tight to the material. This, however, not good, but all you have to do, boom, boom, that's it. So this flashing is required on any horizontal trim surface. You always have to put a metal flashing just so water doesn't sit here. We want it to if it's gonna sit, it's gonna be on metal, not on the wood. Don't matter the type of wood siding or really anything, you don't want water sitting there. Even like a fiber cement, Greg, you don't want water just sitting there. It does damage. But okay, that is what we needed.
Then you get this fold over right there.
Okay, there we go. There's our metal flashing. This is ready for lap siding, and it's a little unconventional, but now I think, and we talked about this when we did this, why would we do our board all the way up if we're gonna be doing horizontal lap? It's because our battens are gonna die into this trim. This trim is on top of this board. This board runs directly into our corner trims at the same plane. If we didn't do this, we would run our board up, we'd cap it, we'd flash it, then this trim up here would not be at the same plane as the this in the corner. So this is what we came up with. It just seems to be the best.
Then also our corner trim would be sticking out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So this trim would die in at a back, which is, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We just figured we're gonna be cutting and wasting anyway, because look how far up 16 footers went. What are you gonna do with these little 3-foot pieces? And remember, all of our cutoffs flipped over and went right there. So we really didn't waste any material, but now we have a nice backing. So when you look at this, you say no flashing. Well, there would have been no flashing in here anyway. This would have just been a wall all the way down to the lower flashing. We're covering this with horizontal lap. There's rain screen behind here with the hydro gap. So this is not necessarily for water flashing to get behind. It's more about keeping this horizontal surface from holding water long term.
Think we're able to just leave it in the package, square them all up on the end, and
No, definitely not. All right, so when putting the battens on, there's really no deep thought. Greg's gonna line up the center of his crack. I'm gonna line up the center of my crack, and then we'll tack it, come back with our stabilo plate level, and just go boom, make it level, straight, I should say, and that's all we're gonna do. Plate level, it is a story pole, but it serves two purposes. I can put little marks so I know exactly where I'm gonna nail, but also it straightens the piece out. Make sure that from top to bottom, we're running nice and straight. Okay. All right, time to put on some pre-assembled window trims. And before I put the trim up, I also need to add a piece of metal flashing, because there will be an inch, because this is 5/4, of Smartside material basically sitting where water can go on it. So let me show you what we do. I do like the pre-assembled. It definitely makes things much nicer. So we've got the window trim, and then I've got a piece of aluminum that I broke, and it's basically just a J channel, okay? What we're gonna do is do a quick bend over here. A little bit dusty. This is just to give us a nice end cap. Hard to see. You have to put a piece of flashing on top of any horizontal ledges of Smartside. Oh, this stupid trim. There we go. All right, one thing to note is that when I bent this, if you look at this trim, I overbent this one so that it would be on an angle. So you don't want the water sitting up here and running back to your wall. You want it to come off. So now that we have them pre-assembled, we got our trims. It's just as easy as setting up here. You may see some white in the corners. That's the adhesive we used, and it is paintable, so we basically touch up as we go. The real advantage to pre-assembled trims is obviously, one, I can put them up real easily, but I think the even better thing is that when you put them up, this right here, look at the flatness of every joint. And it doesn't matter which one you look at, because the assembly from the face down allows you to make sure that when everything is put together, this face is flush. The back side is where you would have any issues if there's a difference in materials. So that's that. We're putting 2 nails every 2 foot-ish, and then we'll do the top as well. But there you go. That's a nice pre-assembled window casing. Now I can go ahead and get this dimension here and finish my battens. All right, let's step back, take a look at it, just because it always feels good to look at something that you finished, which this wall's kind of finished a little bit. We got some more nails to do, but we'll go ahead and go to the other side that we have ready to go. We'll get those battens and window trims done, and then we'll have like one corner of the building we can look at. All right, so I'm moving on to the front here, and I just want to real quickly give Greg and Clara, his wife, a big congrats, because this weekend Greg welcomed a new baby boy into his family. So big congrats. Drop a thumbs up and a congrats in the comments for Greg and his wife. I'm super stoked for him. Maybe a little bit jealous because he's at home and I'm here working by myself, but that's okay because we've got a lot to do, and I'm gonna keep moving forward on all the trims and battens and window trims and whatnot to get this siding finished up. And here on the front of this garage, once again, we have a lot to wait for because of the concrete not done in the garage, which means we can't set doors, I can't set garage door trims, but I've got a couple things I can do to keep moving forward, and I should be able to get most of this done. All right, so this trim will allow me to do the Gable lap siding, but also now we can do battens. And once again, because the concrete's not in the garage, we have no garage door trim. We've got a piece of casing, door casing, that's gonna go on top of the door like this. And as long as I know where this trim is gonna end up after we put our door jamb extension trim on, I'll be able to do that. So that's what I'm gonna figure out next. I'm gonna get this installed, then we'll be able to do all the battens on this front, even without the concrete in and without our trim. And you might be saying, well, why not just put the trim in? You know where the concrete's gonna go. Because I don't want the concrete guys to somehow either damage the trim, and then I have to redo it because they're coming in and out of the doors, or I don't want them to put concrete to it. I have to go over the concrete with a piece of metal flashing, then install the garage door trim. So it's just the way it is, and hopefully maybe in the next week they're gonna get this poured anyway, so it'll be nice. All right, so ExpertFinish Smartside trims have an outside pre-made corner, but they don't have an inside pre-made corner yet. So I'm gonna show you how we make ours, and we'll get this inside corner done so I can wrap up this area's battens. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut myself 2 equal sized boards, both full length of the corner. All right, now just as a quick mock-up, I'm assuming you kind of know what I'm doing, but you know, you could take your corner, your 2 boards, and put them together like this. You're gonna get an L that's gonna go right in the inside corner, but the problem is this is 3.5. This is now 4.5 because you have the 3.5 plus the extra inch thickness or whatever your trim thickness is that you're using, and you'll have a weird visual. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rip down 1 inch off of one of these trims, and then I'll show you how I put them together. All right, so we're gonna go 2.5 since we're using 5/4 trim and we want it to look like 3.5. Okay, battery. All right, now some of you this may be your first time watching Smartside trims installed, but you don't want to take 2 boards and 45 them together. That's not a recommendation of LP, and it has to do with the fact that this is a wood product that will accumulate moisture through the more humid seasons, and they don't want it to expand, contract, and have a problem. So a butt joint is best practice. All right, so here we've got our 2.5, our 3.5, and when we put them together, we will get an equal 2.5 both ways. But we need to seal this edge. So I am going to paint it first. Now I need to let this dry for just a second, because the next thing we're going to do is we are going to use some construction adhesive, and we're going to glue this to this side just for added protection, but then we're gonna screw it all together. Go ahead. Let's line this up. All right, so I need to paint this yet, but we're gonna go ahead and screw this. If you're a little bit worried, you know, you might want to pre-drill these. I am using a GRK, which is typically pretty good. I'll just come in off the end a little bit. I do have that glue there. And we'll just go ahead and screw this. There we go. And then we'll just go down about every foot or so with another screw. Make sure your back is flush. Now, we have our corner. We've got a little bit of glue, but we're just gonna get most of that off with our finger, and we'll come back in with the touch-up kit and pull any of that out with it, and you'll never see it. But we need to let it cure first, so. All right, so there we go. Now we have a inside corner, and this, I just think this is better than putting a piece up and then putting another piece up, because inevitably your wall's not perfect, and then you're gonna get not the cleanest joint. And also I can actually caulk this with my black big stretch, and I wouldn't even have to touch it up then. It'd just be a nice caulk joint. So let's go ahead and install it. All right. Make sure we like it. All right, get that nailed off, and there we go. That's a nice inside corner, and you know, if you want, you can come in here and lay a bead of caulk, but I prefer no caulk, so having the adhesive in there, I feel good about it being sealed off, so I'm not too worried about caulking that. Keeps it nice and tight inside corner. So now I can go ahead and finish my top trims up there and move on to this wall's battens. All right, guys, all of a sudden, wow, we have a porch, and that's because you probably have already seen us build the porch. We've already put that content out, but because this is just a real job site, things don't always go in that order, and now we can keep on working on getting the siding details done, because I have the porch here and I can finish this. There's gonna be a little bit of work to do here to get this soffit and everything tied in, but once I get that done, I can put on these last couple boards, get my trims, and start working on this end of lap siding up in the gable. This detail right here is probably one of the details that always I wait for like the last possible minute to do it because it's kind of a pain when you have a compounded angle up here. I mean, I've seen a lot of different ways of doing this, and although there are easy ways to do it, I feel like the way we do it is hard, but it looks good when it's done. So it's just not easy, you know? Metal roof, going around the corner, having trims back here, there's a lot that's gonna happen. And I just gotta make sure it all lays good. And it's compounded miters, so it's difficult. But gotta do it. And we're always gonna think like water and just kind of start at the bottom and then work our way up towards the top. You see we got this little bend out. That's gonna give us a physical place to put some flashing tape on. Just a little bit added protection. I have very little concern up here underneath this soffit, but this just gives us an ability to flash this. If any water comes in, this piece here is just a sacrificial piece of metal. I always say, if you can physically flash something versus relying on a caulk or a adhesive of some sort, always do that, do your best and then caulk. So this is going to be here. We still have to put corner trim and then a piece of corner trim that will go over all of this once we get our siding on and our last piece of trim here. So this will kind of be done and I won't have access to sealing this. I would then be relying strictly on caulking to my Smartside. I don't want to do that. So I bent a bunch of flashing L's to get it back to the wall, taped it off. Now we can do the siding and we'll come back to this detail when we finish the roof flashing details.
Okay, let her drop down a bit.
You take it, my guy.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, go back up. Right there. I like it. Picasso.
It's not Greg's problem.
Not your problem. Oh, buddy.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on.
I feel like there's something weird going on there.
Now, remember the
glue?
I don't know if that's gonna mess us up or not, because we seem to be, okay,
Well,
here,
this guy is
do
tight.
this. Come in here tight with your right hand against it and then slide it.
Yeah, we're hitting something. It's rocking on. Gotta be the
Is it
glue.
rocking on the trims?
I don't think so.
I don't think I'm rocking, dude. I think I'm just,
Well, I am tight here,
you should be.
but it's definitely open. I got to stick my finger on both sides, like I want to go way tighter.
No, you're the same as me.
On both sides? Like, this is tight. You want my flat bar? You can kind of like hit it and shave it off as you go.
He's getting it. Kind of looks like shredded cheese.
Hey, balloon, West Virginia, moved to mama, take me home, country roads.
Oh, my head's burnt too, I can feel it.
All right, so we've got our window trims, finally gonna be putting them on now that the board is on, but you'll notice there's nothing here around the window. Two things, Greg. One, we gotta put a piece of tape over this flashing. So that sucks, but that's okay, it's easy. Two is we have to pad out our trim to the same plane. So all we do is we just take some scrap Smartside and we rip it down and we pad out our trim so that when we put it on, because these are all pre-assembled, everything is just gonna go right where it's supposed to be, and then this all planes in nice. This is all gonna get caulked. Remember, we gotta have our 3/8 gap down here, our 3/8 gap on the stone. This is all gonna get back a rod here, and then we'll caulk that. So we just gotta put a piece of flashing tape, but pre-assembly, that is definitely the way to go.
Well, you know, almost.
No, dry side. Or is this the?
This is dry side.
Okay.
That's how warm it is outside. Oh, it's clean. Wait, you're cutting it?
It's hard to say.
I thought you were cutting it.
I was. I think it is cut, dude. It's like literally forming itself back together through the sheer power of the sun and the heat. I'm not saying this is perfect, but it's better than nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Down a little. Yeah, down a little. I want to be underneath that flange.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's you didn't.
I messed up. I didn't know any better. You're right.
Yeah, you did good.
You did not tell me beforehand.
I wasn't telling you as you were putting it on to stay below that flange, so how would you know?
Yeah, you definitely need to communicate better.
So now we have the tape, and honestly, I'm not even that worried about this tape because if a little bit of moisture did get back there, it's gonna go right out the bottom because of the rain screen built into the Versetta stone as well as the hydro gap on the wall. So we're not too concerned about moisture. As long as we're not holding it, we're probably golden. So we're just gonna set this in, and as long as we did all of our dimensions correctly, it should be good. Where's Greg at? I might have to do this myself. I don't want it to fall. I don't think it will. Let's go right there. All right. You notice we got our head flashing on. That's gonna protect any water that sits up there, but we'll also caulk that top. And that's also why we do a head flashing on the window. So if somehow water gets behind the system, drains in that rain screen built into the hydro gap, it's taped and flashed and it's gonna come out over the window, or it's gonna work down because we have that continuous system all the way. All right, somehow we missed one of the windows. So I just put it together real quickly. We're gonna keep moving forward on getting as many battens and trims up on the front of the house while it's still cool in the morning. Look at me, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's hot out. So we're gonna try to work again in the shade as much as possible. Finish up this front early. We'll get these battens and then we're gonna move on to another Gable. And this time I'm being smart. I'm gonna use the scissor lift, not the boom lift. So I already cleaned out the ground, made sure we can drive our scissor lift along there, and we're gonna work a little smarter today in the heat. All right, we're gonna try to, and I know we're gonna be just fine, we're gonna try to bust out this front gable. We were gonna save it for tomorrow morning, but we're thinking, you know what? It's early, the sun is not really on it yet. So we're gonna bust the front gable out before we head to the back. And we're gonna be working out of the scissor lift today, a lot smarter, and I think a lot more efficient. So let's get this gable done. And it's already trimmed out. We don't really have to do much work to get going. Cole, just paint the face, my guy. You know what to do.
I got you.
That's no bueno. Here, actually put it on the other side. It's a little flatter right here. Two out of three done. Let's move to the back and get the shaded one done. That's what I'm talking about. All right, guys, we are on to the end of this part of the project. Greg just installed the last window trim that I made this morning because we forgot, and I'm working on finishing up the trims behind me here so that we can wrap up the last of these battens. Now that porch is gonna wait until we can source our material for that porch ceiling and then wrap that up, but let's go ahead and finish this part of the project so we can move on to finishing the back porch back there, which I'm pretty excited for. All right, so above these windows where the board was installed, then we come and put on our pre-assembled window trims. We do have this metal flashing. It's a reverse J. So this metal flashing here is basically here just to protect the top side of the Smartside. Anytime you have a horizontal piece of wood trim, you always want to flash the top of it because water sitting on a horizontal surface, doesn't matter what the product is, it is going to be bad over the long run. So we put this metal on for that purpose. And then what we're going to do, since this is somewhat of an open cladded siding system, we have our Benjamin Opdyke, the Hydro Gap behind it. That's giving us somewhat of a rain screen. We have the window flashing on our head flashing. Everything is flashed properly. If moisture gets behind, what we're going to do is minimize that by caulking this joint right here. So I'm going to be using some Big Stretch, great caulk. It's black already, so that's awesome. And we're going to just give ourselves a nice clean bead. And I wish I had some, Windex, because that's like the best stuff to use. Spray a little bit of Windex on there, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spit on my finger. It is what it is. And we're just gonna kind of lightly, we're basically joining the metal and the wood with this. If we don't tool it at all, I don't know how good it's gonna do because there's so many like imperfections in the material since it has the cedar grain look. So we're gonna do this. Notice I'm not trying to scoop the sealant out. I'm just trying to flatten it into the wall. Now, I like to go ahead and do this. I don't know that this is a requirement, but I like to take and just throw some sealant in these joints because our Smartside is not going to go tight to the flashing. It's gonna stay up 3/8 of an inch. So now we'll take our battens. Just install them right over top of that. It's not bad. Thanks. This is always a good time when you're going around touching up nail heads. If you see any abrasion marks from anything, now's the time to hit it with your touch-up pen. There you go. So that's what you do when you put your board on before your window trims. You just have to use a reverse J, cap it so that the horizontal surface is not going to get damaged by water. Caulk it out, use a good caulk, and good to go. All right, that wraps up kind of this stage of the siding, guys. So it's been a long time coming. We had to take a break. We had to build the porch. We had to do the interior garage concrete, a bunch of stuff because that was more important, but we finally got back out. We wrapped up all this trim that we can do for now. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. There's a lot of detail work done, and hopefully it all made sense, because if you know how to install LP Smartside correctly, it's gonna last a really long time. And as you can see behind me, I think it looks really good. No painter having to be called in. Like, we installed it, it's pre-finished, it's done. So we're gonna go ahead and clean up, get out of here. If you guys enjoyed this, appreciate a thumbs up. Follow along for the wrap up of this modest house, the house build, the barn dough. It's really close to being finished. We're gonna head back on the porch next, and we're gonna do those details. That'll be the next video, where we do all the metal, the ceiling, the roof, the soffit, fascia, all that good stuff, and finish the siding, like the whole porch area. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, stick around and we'll catch you on the next video. Later.